Before we get into the race, we have to talk about the qualifying. If you thought things would calm down, you're dead wrong. Albert Park was absolute carnage. Q1, the Titans fall. So it started with a literal bang. Max Verstappen was out instantly. It was a massive rear axle failure and there was nothing he could do. But he wasn't actually alone in the garage because Sainz never made it out after that hydraulic issue in FP3. Stroll was out because of ERS issues and Alonso was out because there was absolutely no power in that Aston Martin battery. Perez struggled with the chassis balance and got buried in traffic. Even Bottas couldn't find the aero efficiency to survive the drop. Safe to say that Cadillac garage was not a very happy place. Q2, the midfield scrap. Hulkenberg's Audi power unit was screaming in the straights and then died in the final sector. Ocon and Gasly found the limit of the Haas and the Alpine and just couldn't push anymore. Behrman had a heartbreaking lockup in turn 13. Q3, fans, fines and future kings. Q3 was pure cinema. Mercedes looked out that front row, but it almost ended in disaster. The time between FP3 and quali is really slim, so in a big rush to try and fix Kimi Antonelli's car, they left the cooling fans attached. One flew off and Lando drove right over it, so there was a red flag. Mercedes copped a €7,500 fine, but Kimi got to keep his P2. Down in the line, Bortoleto got P10 despite having a transmission failure. And Arvid Lindblad got P8 as his stellar debut. But the story of the day, Isaac Hadjar, my absolute GOAT. He outqualified both Ferraris and McLarens to take P3. The grid is set, the drama is peaking, so let's dive into the race. So you're telling me I stayed up until 3 AM for this? Because with the sounds of the cars and having a 50% electric engine, I'm not even sure if this is the same sport anymore. These new regulations aren't just causing chaos, they're completely tearing up the script. The pre-race carnage. So before the race even started, we lost 2 drivers. Oscar Piastri ended up crashing on his way to the grid at his home race. And Nico Hulkenberg didn't make it because of technical issues. 2 cars down before the formation lap. Yeah, Melbourne is cursed. The start, mushroom power. Yeah, so George Russell's start was not so good. However, it gave the Tifosi something to root for again. Charles Leclerc went from P4 to P1 like he was shot out of a cannon. He timed the deployment of the manual override mode perfectly so he could break the toe early. He managed to use this power boost so perfectly that he radioed the team saying,
"It is like a mushroom in Mario Kart."
But seriously, what is in that Ferrari engine? It's like a rocket ship. With Ferrari at 1 and 3 for a while, it was like a Ferrari sandwich. But since there was so much going on in the front, we didn't get to focus on the midfield. And while Charles was flying, Franco Colapinto was out there defying the laws of physics. Into turn 1, he got squeezed. His car snapped and he was millimeters from smashing his car into the wall and ending his race right then and there. But his reactions were straight up feline. Chaos and curses. By the mid-race, I was very sleep deprived and it started feeling a bit like a fever dream. But these battles between Charles Leclerc and George Russell were absolutely mesmerising. That Mercedes is actually on rails. However, the Red Bull curse has returned. Well, I guess it never left because Isaac Hadjar was out in smoke. It was a really rough day for the locals. With Bottas retiring later, they had no more Australians. Want some fries? So I think it's time to talk about Fernando Alonso because he was in the race and then was out and then in and then out, and what was even going on? I was so confused. But let's be honest, he's been in F1 so long that he was probably just using the pit lane as if it was a drive-through. On a serious note though, I'm pretty sure what they were doing was just testing the car on the track so they knew a bit more about it without just being out. And then we had Lance Stroll who was out because of electrical failure. But then when he went back to the pits, it rebooted so he went back out on track. What's going on, Aston Martin? The rookie renaissance. Arvid Lindblad had one of the most amazing debuts and he landed at P8. Gabriel Bortoleto ended up scoring points for Audi at P9 and Ollie Behrman, Jenson Button's favourite for that race, ended up locking in at P7. If these three are the future of F1, I think we're in pretty good hands. The return of the silver arrows. Looking at that Mercedes in the front row was kind of giving me flashbacks to 2014 with Lewis Hamilton. The livery, the front, the sheer dominance, I think it's 2014 again. George Russell takes the win and his radio was peak George.
Very nice, very nice. I like this car, I like this engine.
So what's your guys' verdict? Are these new regulations the future, or is it just a more expensive version of Formula E? Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Why don't you hit the subscribe button below so you can stay in tune with what's going on every week. And as always, I'll see you guys on the grid.